Hello Year 6, welcome to Lesson 3 of Virtual RE, and we are doing a writing lesson today, and I know you are used to doing these, I know you're excellent at doing these. The standard of your non-fiction essay writing is absolutely superb, so I'm really looking forward to seeing what you come up with today in RE. First thing we always do in our writing lessons is a quick quiz, 3 questions in your booklet, so pause the video now. Welcome back. Hopefully you've done those 3 questions. Let's go through the answers. So who was a major leader in the Reformation? Was it Martin Buber, Oscar Romero, or Martin Luther? The answer is Martin Luther. Who is the leader of the Church of England? Is it the Pope, the Archbishop of York, or the Archbishop of Canterbury? That's the Archbishop of Canterbury. The Pope is the leader of the Catholic Church, and the Archbishop of York is the second in command in the Church of England, and the Queen is actually the head of the Church of England. When did Protestant Christianity become widespread in Europe? That was in the 1500s. That's when the Reformation took place, and we'll talk about that more today. So we're going to write a paragraph based on what we've done in the last 2 lessons. We're going to look at some things that we're going to mention in that paragraph. We're going to plan out 3 sentences, and I'll do 2 with you, and then we're going to turn those sentences into a fully fledged paragraph. So the first thing that we're going to think about is this question here. What happened in the 1500s that changed Christianity in Europe? And we can go back and look at what we were looking at last lesson, which is, you know, this is Europe in 1054, so before what happened in the Reformation, and this is Europe after in the 1600s. And the major difference is that here you just have Roman Catholicism in the west and Orthodoxy in the east. And here you have Protestantism taking over large parts: Norway, Sweden, Denmark, some of Germany, England, some of Scotland. Okay, so the major difference is that Reformation brought about a split in the Catholic Church that resulted in Protestant Christianity becoming widespread, especially in Northern Europe. So that's what we're going to write here in our first point. So let's write this together. Let's just check what we were supposed to be writing about again. So what happened in the 1500s? Okay, in Europe in the 1500s, the Reformation split the Catholic Church and created the Protestant, with a capital P, Protestant branch of Christianity. Now then, that's just the plan sentence. So when you come to write your actual paragraph, what I want you to mention is things like the fact that by 1550s it was widespread across Europe, the fact that they had different styles of worship. The Catholic style of worship was much more showy and much more with candles and incense, and the Protestant style, at least back then, was much more plain and simple. They believed that all you needed to be able to access Christianity was access to the Bible, whereas Catholics very strongly believed that the Pope and the priests and archbishops and bishops were required to be able to fully understand the Christian teachings. How does that reflect in the difference between Catholic and Protestant Christianity in Britain? Well, there we go. So we can start by saying that we need to check the date for this. So go back to our notes. You've got all this in your notebook, and we need to see that it's 1534 when Henry VIII established the Church of England. So we say in 1534, Henry the VIII, which is the 8th, established the Church of England as a Protestant church in England. Again, this is just a planning paragraph, because what you can then go on to write about is how that still exists today. If you know more about the history of this period, you'll know that over the next 100 years or so, actually all the way up until the 1800s, there was this constant back and forth between Protestant Church of England and Catholicism, with various different kings and queens taking different positions. So it hasn't always been really straightforward that since 1534 Britain is just a Protestant country. It's been very bloody and very violent. Many people died in the name of Catholicism or Protestantism in the UK. People felt very strongly about this. And then finally, this is the one that I would like you to do yourself. The last point is, within the Protestant Church of England, how are their differences in worship? So if we look at the topic sentence that we're going to use as our first sentence in our essay paragraph, it says Christianity in Britain today was shaped by the Reformation. Okay, well, we know that because that's where we get Protestant and Catholic Christianity splitting in Europe in the 1500s. But even within Protestant worship in Britain, there is still a wide range of practices. Do you remember what the two major types of worship in the Church of England were called? There was like this one and there was this one. So it was high and low church, and that's what I want you to mention there. The fact that even within the Church of England, you've got worship that is very similar to a Catholic style of worship, a high church style of worship. And you've also got low church worship, which is much more modern and much less traditional than other forms of worship. And as you'll see next lesson, we're going to look at Pentecostalism, which is kind of a form of Protestantism. And the worship in Pentecostal churches very different from the worship in a high church, Church of England church, or a Roman Catholic church, although actually Roman Catholic practice is quite wide and varied as well. Then what you're going to do in your paragraph is you're going to start off with your topic sentence. Then you're going to have sentence 1, should say S rather than P, sentence 1, sentence 2, and sentence 3. I want these to be nice, lovely sentences, not just, your planning sentences copied out. And you're going to be, wow, I've messed that letter up. Let's get rid of that. You're going to need to be using, and you're very good at this, but you need to remind yourselves, you need to be using linking words like because. So you make a point and then you say why that happens. Therefore, something follows on from the other thing. As a result, okay, so as a result of the Reformation and Henry VIII's divorce or desire for divorce, Britain gained the Church of England, or something along those lines. Right, I'm really looking forward to reading these. Please do make sure that you send these through when you're done, because honestly, from what I saw last half term and what I've seen in history from the start of the year, your non-fiction writing is excellent. So that is that. I will speak to you next week doing more RE. Have a wonderful weekend, and I'll see you later. Goodbye, Year 6.